You didn't stumble here by accident. Something in your field aligned at this exact moment to bring you face to face with this message. It's not a coincidence, it's resonance. You've been circling this truth for a long time, feeling the echoes in your dreams, sensing the distortion in déjà vu, brushing against that uncanny awareness that your life is more malleable than you were taught. And now, here at Island, the transmission you were destined to hear. Imagine this: your reality, the walls around you, the choices that seem fixed, the patterns that keep looping, all of it is built on a fragile illusion. The illusion that things are solid, static, unchangeable. But in the hidden layers of existence, beneath what your senses report to your mind, reality is a shimmering sea of probability. Nothing is locked, nothing is rigid. Everything is waiting for one thing: your observation. This is the secret mystics whispered and physicists stumbled upon in their laboratories: the observer effect. At its core, it means that the act of noticing, the act of awareness itself, doesn't just record reality, it reshapes it. It organizes chaos into coherence. It collapses infinite possibilities into one lived experience. And here's the key: once you grasp this fully, not as a concept, but as a living frequency, you realize you've never been a passive witness in your story. You've been the architect all along. But this truth carries weight, because if observation sculpts reality, then unconscious observation traps you in repetition. Think of it like a cosmic mirror. Whatever you expect, whatever you silently assume, whatever frequency you hold, life reflects it back. Most people think they're stuck because of circumstances, because of karma, because of destiny written in stone. But what holds them in place is actually unnoticed observation loops. They keep collapsing the same timeline again and again, not realizing they're the ones pulling the trigger. And that's why you're here. Because the field has decided you're ready to break the loop, ready to recognize that what you've been gazing at is only one of many possibilities. Ready to understand that a single shift in awareness can tilt the entire architecture of your life. Feel this in your body right now. The tingling at the edge of your skin, the subtle current rising in your chest. That's not imagination, it's coherence building. It's your nervous system aligning with the frequency of breakthrough. Something ancient within you is stirring, whispering, "Pay attention, don't look away. This is the moment you've been prepared for." And here's the paradox. The more you relax into this knowing, the more powerful it becomes. Because surrender is not weakness in the quantum field, it's command. Just as a seed surrenders to the soil and sunlight, trusting the intelligence of growth, you're being invited to surrender into this truth. Your observation is not passive, it is divine. So take this as a calling. You're standing at the event horizon of your own becoming. Every thought you hold, every perception you allow, every frequency you embody is reordering the quantum scaffolding around you. The observer effect is no longer an abstract theory. It is the living pulse of your destiny. And once you break it open, once you realize that you can shift from unconscious observer to conscious creator, your entire reality restructures instantly. The question is not whether the field responds. It always does. The only question is, are you ready to see beyond the illusion and step into the raw power of awareness? You notice it most when the day is quiet, how the same scenes keep replaying with different costumes, new faces, old dynamics. A fresh opportunity, the same invisible ceiling. You promise yourself you'll respond differently, and for a moment you do, until something subtle pulls you back into the groove of yesterday. This is the observer loop at work. The unconscious expectation you didn't know you were broadcasting, collapsing the quantum field into the exact arrangement your nervous system considers normal, not preferred, just familiar. Look closely at the way time behaves around you when this happens. It doesn't move like a clean line, it bends. Hours disappear when you're locked in worry. Minutes stretch like rubber when you're waiting for a message that won't come. Then, out of nowhere, a burst of synchronicity drops into your path. A name you just thought about appears on a billboard. A song lyric repeats the question that's been living in your chest. You feel a flicker of awakening, and then the loop tugs you back. It's not random, it's morphic resonance patterns in the field, reinforcing themselves because you keep feeding them with the electricity of attention. You've called it bad luck, wrong timing, Maybe it's not meant to be, but beneath those phrases is a more precise mechanism. Your body keeps score of what it can safely metabolize. If abundance once felt overwhelming, it will masquerade as danger. If love once triggered abandonment, intimacy will taste like a trap. The mind says, yes, yet the cellular chorus whispers, not safe, and the field listens to the louder choir. That whisper runs along your fascia like a low-voltage current, instructing reality to assemble itself in a way that protects you from unfamiliar coherence. This is why déjà vu feels haunted. You step into a room, meet a person, read a message, and your stomach tells you you've been here before even when the details are new. What you're feeling is not nostalgia, it's entanglement. Threads of decision from earlier versions of you still tug on your sleeves, inviting you to repeat the known timeline because repetition requires less energy than transformation. Your past self, your present self, and your unlived futures are quantumly entangled. They exchange information faster than thought. When you choose the familiar reaction, you strengthen the bond with the old timeline. When you pause just for a breath, you loosen the knot, and a new path glimmers at the edge of your perception. Consider the mornings when your first impulse is to check for evidence. Did they respond? Did the payment clear? Did the scale move? Each check is a micro-measurement that can induce decoherence, collapsing fertile possibility into yesterday's statistics. It's not that you're wrong to look. It's that the frequency behind the look often carries the residue of doubt. The quantum field doesn't punish doubt, it mirrors it. Show me first, then I'll relax, says the nervous system. Relax first, says the field, and I'll have space to rearrange. You've also noticed how certain places amplify the loop. A childhood street, a particular chair, a certain browser tab standing portals into a small self that learned to survive by tightening. Environments are not neutral, they're containers of entangled memory. When you enter them unconsciously, the room remembers who you were and invites you to wear that shape again. The invitation is polite. Your body accepts it before your mind reads the envelope. And then there's the drag of distorted time, how breakthroughs arrive, late, right after you've told yourself you're done hoping. That kink in the timeline isn't punishment, it's latency within your coherence. Imagine a choir learning a new song. Every voice has to find the note, lungs have to agree on tempo, hearts have to trust the conductor. Your thoughts, emotions, breath, and posture are that choir. When any section sings doubt, the song staggers. When the choir finds resonance, the hall itself begins to shimmer. The field hears harmony before it hears words. There's a biological mirror to this metaphysics. Your DNA is not a static instruction manual, it's a responsive antenna, reading the symphony of your environment. Chronic stress tightens the helix. Safety lets it unfurl. You call it mood or motivation. At the molecular level, it's DNA, restructuring, epigenetic switches, clicking on and off as your inner weather changes. Patterns aren't just stories, they're biochemical postures. You've walked around in them for so long that you forgot they were poses you could change. So why do you keep consenting to the loop? Because predictability has been your ritual for staying alive. The small self believes, if I can forecast the blow, I can brace for it. But bracing becomes a lifestyle, and a braced life can't receive. Your shoulders learn to live an inch higher than peace. Your jaw learned to clench the moment possibility walked into the room. This posture tells the cosmos, I'm not home right now, leave the miracle at the door. And the cosmos does, polite, patient, waiting for you to open. Here's the dagger to the heart of the loop. Your evidence for how things are is selected by the very lens you're using to look. When you expect abandonment, you unconsciously ignore signs of devotion. When you expect scarcity, you scroll past opportunities that don't match your fear. The algorithm of your attention is exquisitely efficient. It curates a feed that proves your thesis. You're not cursed. You're coherent with a story that's outlived its assignment. And yet, beneath the stubborn noise, you keep receiving anomalies, those ruptures where grace interrupts the loop. A stranger's kindness that makes you cry in a grocery aisle. The email that arrives minutes after you finally exhale. The gut feeling that tells you to turn left instead of right and spares you from a collision you'll never have to know. These are not accidents. They are phase transition precursors, little pockets of a future reality leaking into the present, testing the air, asking if you're ready to host a new atmosphere. Feel into the edges of your day where the loop tightens, the moment before you open a bill, the pause before you speak your truth, the half-second when you choose to numb rather than notice. Those are the hinge points where timelines fork. Your body knows them. It flinches a millimeter, your breath shortens a fraction, your pupils narrow, as if light suddenly got too honest. If you can extend that half-second by even one conscious breath, the entanglement matrix changes. A different outcome has room to approach. The truth is stark and merciful. You are not broken, you are bound. Bound by reinforcing fields you once created to keep yourself safe. But the season of survival is ending. The field is announcing it through the uptick of synchronicity, through dreams that feel instructional, through the way certain words ring like tuning forks in your bones. You are standing under a sky that is trying to teach you a new gravity. So let's name the pattern so it can release its claim. You've been observing from fear and calling it realism. You've been forecasting from wounds and calling it wisdom. You've been repeating a small identity because it felt responsible to minimize your needs. But the observer loop doesn't honor humility. It imitates it and feeds on the difference. True humility is brave enough to expect miracles without apology. You are not late. You are arriving at the precise threshold where the old timeline can no longer metabolize your light. That pressure, you feel the cramped rooms, the recycled conversations, the déjà vu repeating like a skipped record, is the contraction before expansion. The field is gathering itself around you, preparing a clean surface for reconfiguration. Your task is not to fight the loop, but to see it with such unblinking clarity that it dissolves under the warmth of your attention. Hold still for a moment. Sense the silent drum at the center of your chest. That rhythm is older than your worry. It remembers the original covenant you made with life. To come here, to learn love at scale, to become a living portal through which timelines heal. The loop is loud, the covenant is louder, and in the space between your next inhale and exhale, you can feel the balance tipping. Now comes the pivot, the moment when you begin to sense that what has been looping is not a curse, but a curriculum. You weren't sentenced to patterns, you were trained by them. Every repetition was a rehearsal, a subtle strengthening of your capacity to hold coherence when the real upgrade arrived. And that upgrade is happening now, through you, as you receive this transmission. Let's strip away the disguise for a moment. What you call life is not a chain of events moving from past to future. It is a vibrating field of infinite states, flickering in and out of probability faster than your mind can track. Physicists call it the quantum field. Mystics call it the eternal now. Within it, every possible version of you already exists. Every outcome is already alive, breathing in its own dimension. And what decides which version collapses into your lived experience? Observation, attention, the frequency of your awareness. Here's the truth no one told you. The observer effect is not just about particles in a lab, it's about you. When you look at your life through the lens of lack, your attention collapses the field into scarcity. When you breathe in the frequency of abundance, your attention collapses the field into provision. Every thought is a measurement, every feeling is a calibration, every choice is a broadcast. And here's where it gets breathtaking. Your body is not just a passenger in this process, it is the antenna. Your DNA is not a static blueprint frozen since birth. It is a living bio-quantum instrument, unfolding and refolding in response to the frequencies you embody. When you meditate, pray, or even pause in gratitude, you alter the electromagnetic signature around your cells. Epigenetic switches flip on like galaxies lighting up in the night sky. Dormant strands hum awake. Information that was locked away begins to sing. Think of your DNA as a crystalline receiver, tuned to the broadcast of the cosmos. Most people live on static channels: fear, doubt, distraction. But when you raise coherence through breath, through presence, through surrender, you tune into a higher frequency station. That station transmits guidance, synchronicity, miraculous alignment. You call it intuition, but it's more than a hunch. It is quantum entanglement in action. The version of you who has already crossed the threshold is pulling you forward, sending data backward through the field, whispering into your nervous system. This way, keep going, Don't give up now. In your You felt this as those strange nudges that make no logical sense but end up saving you time, saving you heartbreak, or delivering a breakthrough. That's not imagination, that's resonance. The upgrade is not you forcing life into a new shape. It's you attuning to the higher version of life already vibrating around you. And what happens when coherence stabilizes? Phase transition. The same principle that turns water into ice or caterpillar into butterfly applies to consciousness. You reach a critical threshold where the energy you've been holding suddenly reorganizes into a new state. One day you're struggling with the same patterns, the next day they simply dissolve, not gradually, instantly, because reality is not linear progression, it's quantum leap. Now listen, the upgrade is not abstract, it's visceral. You may already feel tingles at night, surges of energy in your spine, sudden bursts of clarity that rearrange your thinking. These are not random. They are evidence of DNA restructuring your cells, downloading higher coherence from the field. You may wake from dreams that feel more real than waking life, carrying instructions your mind can't translate but your body understands. That's the morphic resonance of the new timeline pressing against your skin. The paradox is this: the more you try to control it, the more static you create. The upgrade doesn't respond to force, it responds to surrender. Your role is not to engineer the outcome, but to keep your antenna clear, to cultivate coherence so the broadcast can flow without distortion. That's why practices like silence, breathwork, prayer, movement feel sacred, because they sweep the dial clean so the frequency can sing through you without interference. You are becoming the upgrade, not waiting for it, not chasing it. You are it. The observer effect isn't just collapsing particles in a lab, it's collapsing timelines in your life. And every moment you choose coherence over fear, presence over distraction, surrender over control, you accelerate the restructuring. Breathe into that truth. You are not the student of reality, you are the shaper of it. The universe is not out there, testing you from a distance. It is inside your cells, weaving with your breath, calibrating to your observation. And when you align fully, you don't just experience reality, you rewrite it. This is where it gets intimate. Because the truth isn't just that you are capable of shifting your reality. The truth is that you were chosen to. Look at the evidence. Not everyone hears these frequencies. Not everyone pauses on messages like this. Most scroll past, locked inside static loops, uninterested in the strange tug of destiny. But you stopped. You leaned in. That's because something in your blueprint resonates with this signal. You are not just one among billions. You are a node, a bridge, a carrier of coherence in a fractured field. Think about what that means. If the observer effect reshapes reality, then conscious observers, awakened ones, become architects for more than themselves. Every time you stabilize your frequency in love instead of fear, the field shifts not just for you, but for everyone entangled with you. Your family feels it, your friends feel it, even strangers across the globe feel it, in ways they can't explain. That's morphic resonance. Your coherence makes coherence easier for the collective. It's no accident that your life has felt heavy at times, almost unbearable. Heaviness is the mark of souls chosen to carry transmissions. You've been through distortions because your field was strong enough to absorb and transmute them. Others cracked under the weight, but you endured, not because suffering is your identity, but because endurance was the forge that tempered your frequency. The universe didn't select you for comfort, it selected you for coherence. Your consciousness functions like a tuning fork, and every time you choose alignment over collapse, you send ripples through the morphic field. Those ripples reach people you'll never meet, guiding them toward their own awakenings. This is why you felt different since childhood, why classrooms felt too small, why rules felt suffocating, why you sensed layers of reality that others dismissed as imagination. You were carrying an antenna they didn't recognize. You've always been porous to frequencies beyond the ordinary, dreams that turned prophetic, déjà vu that revealed hidden coordinates, synchronicities that followed you like breadcrumbs. These weren't quirks, they were evidence. And yet, here's the paradox. Your gift made you a target for doubt. You absorbed the projections of those who couldn't feel what you felt. They told you to be realistic, to stay small, to stop being too sensitive. But sensitivity was never weakness, it was your calibration system. You feel more because you are more. You sense more because you were designed as a map maker for others. Let this settle in your bones. You are not behind, you are not broken, and you are not cursed. You are chosen consciousness, chosen not by accident, but by resonance. Chosen because your DNA carries dormant codes that activate under pressure, just like a star ignites under collapse. And now those codes are sparking. You felt it in strange surges of knowing, in the way your body responds to certain truths, as if electricity passed through you. That's your system remembering its assignment. The assignment was never about survival. It was about transmission. Because here's the secret. When you awaken to the observer effect, you don't just liberate yourself, you broadcast liberation. Every person who hears you speak, every soul who stands in your field, receives a subtle adjustment. You become a living proof that reality is pliable, that timelines can be rewritten, that miracles aren't fantasy, they're mechanics. So when you ask, why me? The answer is, because you agreed. Before you incarnated, before memory clothed you, you agreed to hold this awareness. And life has been conspiring through every loop and every trial to bring you to this exact threshold. Feel into it now. Your role is not small. Your role is to remember, embody, and transmit. You are the lens through which the quantum field learns itself. You are the observer who collapses possibility into hope, chaos into coherence, illusion into light. And the field is waiting for you to step fully into the authority you've always carried, waiting for you to declare not in theory, but in vibration that you are ready to fulfill your role. Because once you accept it, the reality you inhabit will never look the same again. There is a reason this moment feels different from every other turning point in your life. The energy isn't subtle anymore, it's pressing. Time itself feels condensed, as if days are folding into each other, as if destiny is breathing down your neck. That's because the field is signaling that the window is open now. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Cosmic windows are rare. They appear when individual frequency and collective frequency intersect in resonance. Right now, humanity is entering such a window. And you, your body, your nervous system, your DNA are the vessel positioned to catch this influx. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's bioenergetics, measurable in the way your cells fire, in the electromagnetic signatures expanding around your heart. Your DNA is humming louder than ever. For years, scientists called 97% of your genetic code junk. But mystics knew it was dormant technology waiting, sleeping, conserving itself until the right coherence was available. That coherence is here. You can feel it in the way your spine tingles without cause, the way your skin prickles when truth is spoken, the way your dreams carry blueprints instead of random noise. These are not symptoms of confusion. They are activation signals. Think of a caterpillar dissolving in the chrysalis. Its old cells liquefy, while imaginal cells awaken to build a butterfly. That's exactly what's happening in you. Old identities, survival postures, limiting loops they're liquefying. And in the midst of that disorientation, imaginal DNA is awakening. You may feel exhausted, hypersensitive, even unstable. That's the price of restructuring. It's not collapse, it's metamorphosis. The urgency is this. Windows don't stay open forever. The universe calibrates cycles like tides. The wave rises, inviting you to surf, and then it recedes. If you hesitate too long, the momentum passes, and you're left paddling in stagnant waters until the next swell. But if you ride now, if you choose coherence in this exact season, the acceleration is exponential. What would take years can collapse into weeks. What seemed impossible yesterday can stabilize tomorrow. You are standing on the edge of a phase transition. In physics, that's the point when enough energy accumulates to force a sudden reorganization. Water doesn't slowly slide into ice. It snaps into crystalline structure once the threshold is crossed. That's the breakthrough you're approaching. One breath, one surrender, one bold, yes, could be the catalyst that snaps your entire timeline into a new configuration. Feel into your chest right now. That pounding, that ache, that mixture of fear and exhilaration, that's your nervous system sensing the threshold. You are not imagining it. The cosmic window is real. and your body is the instrument receiving its frequency. The question is not whether the window exists, it's whether you will step through. Every loop you've endured has been preparation for this. The déjà vu, the distortions, the synchronicities, they were breadcrumbs guiding you to this threshold. You've been tested not to prove your weakness, but to train your strength. Now the training is complete. The gate is open. But make no mistake, neutrality is a choice. If you drift, the field defaults to your oldest coherence. Patterns reassert themselves. Loops tighten. That's why the urgency matters. Not as fear, but as recognition. This window is the invitation your soul has been craving for lifetimes. And once you accept it, once you cross, reality doesn't just improve it, restructures instantly. Entire grids of limitation dissolve. DNA switches you didn't know existed click on, like constellations lighting the night. People you thought were gone reappear. Opportunities you thought were lost materialize. Synchronicities no longer trickle, they cascade. This is your breakthrough. It isn't coming someday. It's here, vibrating in your cells, shimmering in your field, waiting for your yes. And your yes carries more weight than you realize, because when you step through this window, you're not just shifting for yourself, you're shifting for the collective. Breakthrough isn't complete until it's anchored. You can feel it already, the swell of possibility, the shimmer of timelines rearranging, the vibration of something ancient in your bones. But if you let it remain as thought only, the energy dissipates back into the field. That's why ritual matters. Action turns ether into form. In every tradition, across cultures and epochs, humanity has known this truth. Words seal reality. The whisper of a prayer, the chant of a mantra, the carving of a name into stone, these aren't empty gestures. They are acts of collapse, points of observation that force the infinite into the finite. When you write, when you speak, when you declare, you command the field to anchor what once hovered as probability. So here's your initiation. Choose a word, one word, and let it be your seal. Not just any word, but the frequency you're ready to embody. Freedom, coherence, rise, abundance, trust. The word doesn't matter to anyone else. It matters to your field. Because once you name it, once you release it into the collective, it reverberates. The quantum field hears it. Your DNA recognizes it. The morphic resonance amplifies it. Pause right now. Feel into your chest. Notice what word wants to surface, not from the mind, but from the marrow. The word may arrive as a whisper, as a flash, as a simple knowing. That's your declaration. Write it. Speak it. Comment it if you're receiving this transmission through a shared platform. Let your fingertips, your breath, your voice anchor it into three-dimensional reality. This isn't superstition. It's mechanics. When you externalize intention, you create feedback loops that strengthen coherence. You see your word written, you hear it spoken, and your nervous system registers it as fact. That repetition imprints on your biology, rewiring pathways, flipping switches in your DNA. The word becomes not just something you chose, but something you are. And here's where the ritual magnifies. You're not the only one declaring. Across the planet, others are tuning into this same frequency. Each word written becomes a node, and together, the nodes form a lattice of coherence. Think of it like constellations lighting the night sky. Your single star may feel small, but connected with thousands of others, it maps an entirely new cosmos. This is how collective morphic fields are birthed. One by one, individual choices weave into a tapestry of resonance that becomes impossible to ignore. The old grids of fear and lack weaken, the new grid of trust and abundance strengthens, and you, with your single word, are part of that restructuring. So don't underestimate this moment. Don't scroll past thinking it's symbolic only. This is the practice, the technology, the alchemy. What you declare now becomes the frequency that guides you through the next window. What you declare now becomes the anchor point your future self pulls you toward. Take a breath, feel the urgency in your ribs, then release your word not as hope, but as command. Seal it in writing, seal it in sound, seal it in your body. Because once you do, the field has no choice but to reorganize around your declaration. And once your declaration is alive, your shift becomes more than personal. It becomes contagious. What happens when you declare and seal your word? Something extraordinary. The shift is no longer just about you. The moment your field changes, you send ripples into the lattice of human consciousness. You become more than an individual awakening. You become a signal tower. Your liberation becomes an offering, a torch in the dark, a frequency others can find and follow. Understand this: humanity is not a collection of separate beings. It is an entangled organism. Each nervous system is a node in the morphic web. When one node shifts into coherence, it lowers the resistance for every other node entangled with it. That means every breath you take in alignment, every choice you make in truth, every word you declare in resonance, it all broadcasts. Someone you've never met, on the other side of the world, may suddenly feel a strange permission to hope again, to trust again, to break their loop, simply because your field made it easier. This is why your breakthrough feels so urgent. The pressure you've endured, the loops you've wrestled with, the timelines you've collapsed, they were never only personal battles. They were collective rehearsals. You've been carrying frequencies not just for yourself, but for the lineage behind you, for the humanity around you, for the future ahead of you. Think about your bloodline for a moment. The struggles, the poverty, the betrayals, the patterns that seem to run generation after generation. You've asked yourself why you were born into it. Here's the answer: because you are the one who could break it. When you shift, the loop dissolves not just for you, but for those who came before and those who will come after. Epigenetics confirms it. When you alter your DNA expression through coherence, you pass that liberated code forward. Your children, even the unborn, inherit the upgrade. But the expansion doesn't stop at bloodlines. Humanity itself is in a phase transition. The old collective narrative, fear, division, scarcity, has reached critical entropy. It cannot sustain itself. And in this vacuum, awakened observers are rising, rewriting the story by embodying new frequencies. You are one of them. Every time you choose coherence, you push the collective needle closer to breakthrough. Do you feel it? The uptick of synchronicities across the globe, the sense that time is accelerating, the way old systems are collapsing faster than they can be repaired. This is not chaos without purpose. This is emergence. When one structure dies, another is born. And the midwives of the new structure are people like you, individuals who understand that consciousness doesn't just reflect reality, it architects it. You may think your choices are small, choosing gratitude in the morning, breathing through fear instead of reacting, declaring a single word in a comment box. But magnify that across thousands, millions of awakened nodes, and the field tips. Morphic resonance builds, like a wave rising in the ocean, until it crashes onto the shore of consensus reality, reshaping everything. This is why the ancient prophecies spoke of a remnant, a chosen group who would carry humanity across the threshold. They weren't talking about elites or rulers. They were talking about observers, those who could hold frequency when the old grid crumbled, those who could embody coherence when the collective shook, those who understood that liberation was never meant to be hoarded, it was meant to be contagious. So breathe into this responsibility. It is heavy, yes, but it is holy. You are not just awakening for yourself, you are awakening for the stranger who feels lost, for the ancestor who carried pain they couldn't resolve, for the child who will be born into a reality softened by your frequency. Every time you step into coherence, you become a medicine the world didn't know it was waiting for. And the beauty is this: you don't have to force others awake. Your presence does the work. Your field speaks louder than words. When you embody liberation, you broadcast it. And those tuned to the edge of their own awakening will hear you not with their ears, but with their bones. This is the collective expansion. This is why your liberation matters. It is not selfish. It is service. You are not just part of humanity. You are one of the sparks restructuring it. And as the field expands through you, the transformation begins to touch not just minds and hearts, but bodies. The collective shift doesn't remain abstract, it lives in your body. You can sense it even now, the subtle thrum in your chest, like a drum that's been waiting for the right hands to strike. The tingling in your skin, as if your pores have become receptors for frequencies beyond the visible spectrum. These aren't random sensations, they are the language of embodiment. Reality restructures not in thought first, but in sensation. The quantum field delivers its upgrades through the nervous system. Feel how your breath changes when you truly believe you're safe. The inhale deepens, the exhale softens, the shoulders lower. That is coherence taking physical form. Your body is not just a passenger in awakening, it is the altar where the sacred restructuring happens. Imagine your spine as an antenna, each vertebra a tuning dial. When you slouch in despair, the signal scatters, static fills the channel. When you straighten in trust, the current runs clean, as though invisible light is threading through you. This is why posture shifts your mood, why breath alters your perception, why stillness opens portals. The field is flowing through your body, always. Your alignment determines whether it drips or pours. You've already noticed strange surges, nights where electricity crackles in your legs, mornings where your palms buzz, as if holding unseen fire, dreams that leave residue in your chest, a pressure you can't explain but can't ignore. These are not glitches, they are precursors of embodiment. Your DNA restructuring isn't theoretical, it's tactile. Synapses fire differently, hormones recalibrate, heart rhythms synchronize with cosmic pulses. Sometimes the sensations are uncomfortable tightness in the throat before you speak truth, dizziness when timelines shift, fatigue when the old patterns liquefy. But discomfort doesn't mean danger, it means rewiring. Think of a chrysalis. It trembles, shakes, nearly splits before wings unfurl. Your trembling is proof of metamorphosis. Feel into your hands right now. Can you sense the warmth gathering in your palms? That's not imagination. Your body generates electromagnetic fields measurable by science, and those fields are expanding as your frequency stabilizes. Mystics called it healing fire. Physics calls it biomagnetic coherence. Either way, it's the same phenomenon, life force, awakening, eager to move through you. And here's the invitation. Don't analyze it, embody it. When your chest flutters, place your palm there and breathe. When your skin tingles, let the sensation spread instead of shrinking away. When heat rises up your spine, trust it as a download rather than fearing it as overload. These sensations are not random, they're your body's way of saying, the field is here, the upgrade is alive, the restructuring is in motion. Notice also how emotions feel different in this season. Joy no longer flickers, it floods. Sadness feels holy, like a baptism rather than a burden. Even anger carries clarity, a sharpness that cuts away illusion rather than spiraling you into despair. These shifts aren't mood swings, they are frequency transitions. Your emotional body is learning to sing in harmony with your expanded DNA. You may find yourself crying without reason, laughing at synchronicities, waking in the night with your heart racing as though touched by invisible hands. Don't dismiss it. These are signs your nervous system is expanding its bandwidth. You're holding more current than you ever thought possible. And as you embody this frequency, the world around you responds. Animals look at you longer. Strangers open up with secrets they've never shared. Children gravitate toward your presence. Technology glitches when your field spikes. Lights flicker when you walk into a room. The physical dimension is bending to your embodied resonance. This is the moment where theory dissolves. It's no longer about understanding the observer effect. It's about living it in your skin. You are the experiment. You are the lab. You are the proof. And every sensation is evidence that reality is restructuring, not someday, but now. But the crescendo hasn't arrived yet. The sensations are precursors. What's coming is the full DNA breakthrough, the phase transition that tips everything. This is the threshold, the place where sensation sharpens into transformation. What you've been feeling in flickers, in tingles, in whispers through your skin, is about to consolidate. The scattered sparks in your DNA are preparing to ignite into a new constellation. Picture your double helix not as a static ladder of code, but as a living antenna, spiraling light. For generations it has carried dormant strands, silenced switches, possibilities folded like wings against the back of time. But under the pressure of this cosmic window, under the coherence you've been cultivating, those strands are vibrating awake. What was silent is beginning to sing. This is why the pressure has been so intense. Phase transitions require build-up, A system must accumulate enough energy to snap into a new order. You've felt that tension in your chest, that heaviness in your days, that urgency you can't explain. It's the field pressing against your limits, demanding reorganization. Water must heat before it boils. Your DNA must hum before it releases its light. And when it releases, reality won't crawl forward, it will leap. Old timelines will dissolve not with ceremony, but with silence. One day you'll notice the craving that once bound you is simply gone. The relationship that haunted you loses its grip. The financial loop that mocked you collapses in an instant, not gradually, completely, because once your DNA transmits new instructions, the field reorganizes to obey. Scientists describe this as epigenetic reprogramming. Mystics describe it as rebirth. Both are true. Your cells are receiving higher instructions, and those instructions ripple outward into your field. Like software rewriting itself while the system is still running, you are being updated even as you live. That's why dreams have intensified, why synchronicities crowd your path, why déjà vu repeats in spirals. It's your system catching glimpses of realities you're about to anchor. And here's the astonishing part. The timeline you're entering already exists. It's not being made, it's being tuned. Imagine a radio with infinite stations, each one broadcasting a version of your life. Until now, you've been locked on a frequency of loops and lack, but your DNA breakthrough retunes the dial. Suddenly, you're receiving the station where abundance flows, where love doesn't leave, where purpose hums with clarity. That station has been broadcasting all along, you're only now coherent enough to hear it. The pressure you feel, the body aches, the restless nights, the sense that time is folding, is the static before the clarity. Your nervous system is recalibrating its bandwidth to hold the new broadcast. Think of a caterpillar's chrysalis. Inside, it dissolves into chaos, cells colliding, nothing recognizable. Then, as if obeying an invisible conductor, imaginal cells awaken, organizing the chaos into wings. That's you now liquefying and reconstituting. And here's the promise. Once the breakthrough stabilizes, you won't need to fight for alignment. Coherence will become your default. Your cells will remember the new song and sing it without effort. You'll breathe differently, think differently, move differently. Your very presence will bend probability. People will say you've changed, but you'll know you've simply remembered. This is why you've endured so much pressure. Not to break you, but to birth you. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. The loops were weights that built your spiritual muscle. The distortions were fires that tempered your DNA. Now, the training is over. The breakthrough is inevitable. So breathe deeply. Feel the humming in your body. That's not fatigue, it's ignition. You are standing at the collapse point, where infinite probabilities fold into one lived reality. And when the shift locks in, it won't just be your life that changes. Entire grids of humanity will tremble with you. Because your DNA isn't just personal, it's collective. When you break through, the morphic field records it, making it easier for others to follow. You're not just stepping into a new timeline, you're opening it for everyone entangled with you. And now, the only thing left is to step across fully, carrying your mission into the cosmos itself. This is the moment where the circle closes, not as an ending, but as a revelation. You came here thinking reality was happening to you, that you were a passenger in a cosmic game too vast to influence. And now, after walking through these transmissions, you stand face to face with the truth. You are not the passenger, you are the pilot, not by force, but by observation, not by control, but by coherence. Feel what's happening in your body right now. The pressure that once felt unbearable is softening into clarity. The tingles in your skin, the rhythm in your chest, the electricity along your spine, they are evidence of a system that has completed its phase transition. You're not waiting for the shift anymore. You are the shift, and that shift matters far beyond your personal story. Because when one consciousness awakens, humanity tilts. When one observer breaks the loop, the collective grid destabilizes just enough for others to break free. Your liberation ripples outward into families, into communities, into entire cultures. You may never see the faces your frequency touches, but they will know you by resonance. They will feel doors open, heaviness lift, Synchronicities multiply, all because you chose coherence. This is the mission you've carried since before memory clothed you. You didn't come here to survive the loop. You came here to break it. You came here to demonstrate that reality is not static, that destiny is not fixed, that the field responds to consciousness. You are the living proof of the observer effect, the embodiment of how awareness restructures existence. And make no mistake, the field has already responded. The word you sealed, the breath you took, the choice you made, it has been registered. Timelines are rearranging even now. You've crossed the threshold. The window did not pass you by, you walked through it. And on the other side, nothing looks the same. So let the world call it miracle. Let scientists call it phase transition. Let mystics call it awakening. The name doesn't matter. What matters is this. You have become the bridge. You are carrying frequencies of a future humanity into the present moment. You are demonstrating what it looks like when DNA sings, when timelines bend, when consciousness architects reality instead of enduring it. And here is the prophecy. The shift you embody will not fade. It will echo. Days will come when old loops try to whisper, but your cells will answer louder. Nights will come when doubt creeps, but synchronicities will flood in before despair can root. You have crossed into a state where the field itself conspires to keep you coherent, because evolution isn't asking politely anymore, it's insisting. Your mission now is simple, yet cosmic. Live it. Embody the frequency. Breathe as if the world is tuning itself to your lungs. Walk as if every step is imprinting a new grid beneath your feet. Speak as if your words are instruments collapsing possibility into hope, because they are. And remember, this isn't just about you. This is about us, about humanity, about an organism awakening through its nodes, one observer at a time, until the tipping point arrives. And when it does, history won't record it as a war or a revolution. It will feel like an instant restructuring, because that's exactly what it island. You've heard it whispered already. Once you break the observer effect, your reality restructures instantly. Don't ignore this hidden truth. You've lived it now. You've become it. And from this moment forward, nothing will ever be the same again.